For this critical review, I'll be taking a deep dive into storytelling and how different artists approach emotional moments of their story. I'll be exploring a variety of media including comics, animated television and movies, and as well featuring a game. Creating an emotional moment in a comic can be challenging and can come with limitations. Zoe Thorogood's graphic novel It's Lonely at the Centre of the Earth depicts her experience with mental health after the success of her comic The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott. In the moments where Zoe's inner monologue with her current self and her younger self, she opens up about her dreams and her younger self reflects on aspirations and as a child, the success that came from those aspirations. Creating it in this format allows us to look deeper at where she's at now and what stemmed that love of creating comics. In the moments after this, we see a panel of Zoe herself, in her actual state, stripped away from the illustration, surrounded by her completed comic, leaving us with the moment of exhaled breath, breaking the wall of the comic space. In a Q&A, Zoe expressed that she had envisioned those moments in her head and wanted all the comic to be as natural as possible, which is unusual in the comic industry as most cases rely on scripting and heavy planning. Creating this way has allowed for Zoe to beautifully depict an intimate peek into her life as a comic artist and with the struggles of dealing with her mental health. When it comes to telling a story, you reflect on what you convey, what message you send out and who the characters are. Zoe wanted to show herself in a raw way, opening herself up through a variety of different characters to convey each part of her personality. Hayao Miyazaki, director of Studio Ghibli, takes storytelling in animation to another level. In an interview with Roger Ebert, Miyazaki's narrative technique came into discussion. What we know from Western narratives is that the lead up to the big moment is uninterrupted. In Miyazaki's narrative, we have a moment of calm before the big moment. This is called Ma. The calmness before the finale allows us to breathe, sit with the moment, see what's at stake before we plunge. My personal favourite moment of the use of Ma is in the movie Howl's Moving Castle. Moments where the stillness enriches the story, where the main character Sophie listens to the waves, sitting in the sun, taking in the scenery, before leading us into the climactic moments. Hayao Miyazaki creates emotional storytelling through all aspects, the narrative structure, the character design, and the world building. And Miyazaki ensures that every part of the process enriches the story and its characters. Playing with the animation style is another great way of conveying emotion. Adding an effect and withdrawing other elements back can really enhance the scene. Miyazaki achieved this amazingly in the opening sequences of The Boy and the Heron, otherwise known as How Do You Live? The artists at Studio Ghibli created a blurring, smearing effect on the animation as the young boy Mahito runs through the chaotic streets to the hospital where his mother is at. Alongside the smearing effect of the animation, the audio is stripped back, adding to the disassociated panic. Playing with the narrative structure is a unique way of creating impactful moments, and in terms of Emily Carroll, the narrative is different from most horror graphic novels. Emily Carroll is well known for her open-ended stories that are obscure in meaning. Her story is mainly focused on horror thriller that leaves you with interpreting the ending, resulting in making the reader feel disturbed. My recent reading of A Guest in the House left me feeling disturbed as I wonder what the character was going through and her perception of reality. Another way Emily Carroll creates a powerful emotion is through the lack of text. By choosing when to apply the text, allows the moment for the viewer to pause, creating tension on what's happening and what's to come. Being particular on when to apply text is extremely difficult and can come off as unfinished. However, Emily Carroll pulls it off brilliantly. In a podcast with David Harper, Emily spoke on the amount of control she has over her graphic novel, relying on herself on every aspect of the process. By relying on her instinct and using the typical rules of comic making as a loose guideline, she is able to utilize her focus on page turns. The main character explores an attic before arguing with an entity, turning a page and seeing the explosive moment unfold. Employing the physical page turn, involving the reader in the story, captivates them. Capturing the emotions through the character is another great way to convey the mood of the scene and its story. The creators of Arcane really want to encapsulate that. Arcane tells a story of several characters from the video game League of Legends, set in the world where both sides of one city clash. Arcane blends 2D and 3D animation together for a stylized animation with the aim to create something unique. Similar to Studio Ghibli, their aim was not to create something exactly replicated from life, like using motion capture suits. Instead, they relied on references from life. One animator highlighted this in the behind-the-scenes documentary, using his son running and playing as video reference to capture emotional scenes of two childhood best friends confronting each other, one of those characters being Jinx, a character with the most emotional moments as she battles her mental health, her personality jumping from childlike and vulnerable to irrational and angry. To achieve these quick moments effectively and emotionally, the animators created specific shape for how Jinx feels. In her vulnerable moments, her eyes and face become rounded and softer. But when she's in her grown-up state, she has a sharper face and eyes, creating for a tenser, angrier, and disgruntled look. A creative decision to project the character's emotion through this way to re-emphasize the mood of the scene, showing the mood rather than saying how they feel. Reconstructing a format to dynamically tell your story is just what the development company Goodbye World Games did. Before Your Eyes is a first-person narrative about a soul navigating to the afterlife. In a really interesting twist, the player interacts with the story by their eyes, blinking to progress the story. The innovative notion of blinking to experience a video game has captivated gamers. The unique technique allows to enhance the topic of the game. As you blink and as you skip segments to progress to another time, you are suddenly aware of what you're missing out on. Breaking down further, as you become an emotional mess at the end, you suddenly reflect on your own experiences and what the medium is capable of creating. For inspiration, one of the developers took pictures of their childhood home to capture exactly what it was like growing up, making the game feel more relatable and real. In an article from The Gamer, the developers of Before Your Eyes wondered why webcams weren't being used for video gaming. By blinking, you'll start to notice how much you blink, then become frustrated with how much you're missing, an intentional part by the creators. The creators of Before Your Eyes break the fundamentals of the game rules and resulted to making a video game that is emotional and is accessible. Until Dawn, a horror video game set up in the snowy mountains, takes a group of teenagers through hell, with a killer on the loose and terrifying occurrences coming around every corner. This video game adapts its gameplay to have the players choose their path to see who lives or dies. This way, your story is your own. Who will live? Who will die? What secrets will you uncover? Because the game adapts to the choices you make, you feel apprehensive about when the consequences will be carried out, and will leave you wondering what choices are left to be made. Similar to Before Your Eyes, Supermassive Games created a heart-pounding experience where the tense moments rely solely on your stillness. Holding the controller as still as you can may alter the fate of your players. With a vibrating controller and your heart beating along with the game creates intense, scary scenes. The combination of storytelling and user controls crafts an enjoyable and scary, unique experience. Unlike Studio Ghibli and Arcane, motion capture was used and the realistic story relied predominantly on the actor's performance. In an interview, Pete Samuels, a creator of Until Dawn, mentioned that it was like shooting an actual movie and we treated it that way, and continued saying that they all did an incredible job. Making the decision to let the acting shine through with the writing and user interface creates a powerful performance that translates the horror very well. The creative decision that every creator and artist has mentioned or referenced is the use of their own imagination and how they look to life to gather inspiration, allowing to bend the rules of their medium style to achieve captivating storytelling. Artistic choices may vary depending on the media format and its artist. For graphic novels, it can be the play with text or composition of the page folds. It could also be the art foundations that are changed with the use of mixed media. For animation, it may be the blending of animations of 2D and 3D using tricks that can manipulate a character and/or its scenes. For video games, it could possibly be finding something that hasn't been done before. One common theme throughout all of them is the inspiration taken from life, and using that to create the fundamentals of their art. Investigating how different creators cultivate emotion through their storytelling allows me to reflect on what creates a great story, whether it's utilizing the media format or adapting programs to convey different emotions, most importantly, the inner instincts that an artist has.